p.m. For tonight, our topic is based on the life of Sayeda Zaineb. Our speaker is Hajjah Najar. Before we begin, please welcome Brother Mushab al-Khalidi with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa Muhammad for Quran recitation.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء نحوا والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء نحوا سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة في الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. صدق الله العلي العظيم. أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you, Brother Mujtaba, for the beautiful recitation. A few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of meeting Hajjah Najar for the first time. When we spoke, she spoke with a passion I haven't seen before in anyone else in regards to Sayeda Zaineb. So without holding back this night any further, please welcome her up here with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let's do another salawat for the love of Al-Hussein, since we are still in the tragedy of Karbala. Another one for the Hubb al-Zahra. And a third one for Hajjah Zaineb that we are doing this night for. Every story has a beginning, a middle, and end. We come to the tragedy of Karbala and we say, how did this happen? 1400 years. All of this time that you are going to be going through this, you probably have been hearing, he died 1400, what's the big deal? But everybody, if you think about it, how did a man who died in a desert, we still remember him 1400 years? In the battlefields, there's rules of war. Whoever dies, loses, and whoever carries on the prisoners of war, wins. So in the concept of war, Al-Hussein supposedly lost the battle. But if you look around today, he actually won. How did this come to pass? It all happened because there was one person in that battlefield that nobody thought will carry on, and it's Lady Zainab alayha salam. Lady Zainab, we call her al-Masa'ib. Many people think that Lady Zainab went to Karbala hoping to get to Kufa. She left Mecca with her brother thinking she's going to go to Kufa and they're going to live there and start telling people to leave Yazid and continue with them. That falling into Karbala and falling into her role after Karbala was a coincidence, or more of, la hawla wa la quwwa. Her family got massacred and she had to lead on. But if we go to the narrations and her upbringing and who she is, we find out that's not true. That Zainab alayha salam from the beginning was being trained for the role of Karbala. In order for us to start in Karbala, we have to go back to the beginning. We have to say, what caused Karbala? There is a connection that occurs over time. So we start with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to take away from Our Lady Zainab. When he got the Risala, at that time the revelation comes to him. At that time, Imam Ali alayhi salam was only of 10 years old. He gets the revelation. He was ordered to do it in secrecy. After 3 years, Allah Azza wa Jal tells Prophet Muhammad, go out and start saying it to your tribes and family. Prophet Muhammad gathers people and say, I am Rasulullah and this is the message of Allah. Who will join me? The room of all of these adults and all of these people goes quiet. A 13-year-old boy stands up and he goes, Ana ya Rasulullah. I believe in your message. I will be with you. The reason why we touch on Prophet Muhammad and Imam Ali, we have to understand who were the two biggest players during Karbala. On one hand, we have Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, And on the other hand, we have Yazid. So what's the best thing to do? Let's go to the lineage. Who is Zainab? Zainab is the daughter of Ali alayhi salam, who is married to Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, who is the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So who is more knowledgeable of the Quran and the Islam? This side. When we go to this side, who is Yazid? Yazid is ibn Muawiyah, ibn Hind, ibn Abu Sufyan. If you take the father and mother and you put them on the sides and you feel Abu Sufyan is the man who ordered to kill Prophet Muhammad, who gathered everybody to kill the message of God and to kill Prophet Muhammad, and Hind is known as Akilat al-Akbat. That's one lineage, and on the other side, that's a lineage. So we start with Lady Zainab. Lady Zainab was born on, they say, between the 5th or the 6th year of the Hijrah. Why this is crucial? Because at that time, every treaty that Prophet Muhammad has done with certain tribes has been broken. They have betrayed the treaty and they are fighting the Prophet in the battles. So most of them are battles. So we see that Lady Zainab alayha salam, as she's growing where? In the tents of battlefield. Watching whom? Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam, attending from tent to tent to the wounded and to the warriors, to her family, her father, her husband, and her sons, and to all of the martyrs and the children and the women. Lady Zainab grows seeing her mother in a leadership role. And this is how we see her, until we see that Prophet Muhammad dies, and the problem occurs with the bay'ah and the khilafah. And we know, because that in itself needs days and days and months to go into. Lady Fatima alayha salam get martyred. She orders to be buried in the dark, and none of those people know where she is buried nor pray on her. These are stands of women. So you would hear today that Muslim women are oppressed. Muslim women don't have a role. However, the Quran and everything that the Prophet ﷺ and Ahlul Bayt have put forth shows that the woman is the leader of the societies. That it has to be standing there in order for her to continue. So what do we find about Lady Zainab? You have to look at her upbringing. So when she was born, she is born in whose household? In Rasulullah. She grew up watching whom? And listening to whom? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then she watched her father and her mother and her two brothers. When it comes to her marriage, there's an interesting part of it. Lady Zainab could have been married off to anyone, but she was married to her cousin Abdullah ibn Ja'far al-Tayyar with a condition of one condition, that she would not leave the house of the imama, meaning wherever is the imams, she is with them. And many scholars says, what was the reason for that? So I'm going to ask you, how many of you are in college right now? How many of you remember what you studied in high school a few years back? Math, English, if I give you equations of 10th grade. If now I move you into your education and I keep sending you into a focus field, will you still remember what you have read in middle school? Or you might remember it, but you will not be keen in it. You will not be intelligent in it enough to probably tutor or anything like that, right? Because now your focus is somewhere else. Zainab was being prepared for the role of Karbala. So if you are in a household listening to somebody like Amir al-Mu'mineen every day, lecturing with people in Kufa, eventually what happens? You capture some of that knowledge, right? And then you see Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Hussein. That's what Zainab was. Even when she was in Kufa with Imam al-Ali, she had her own classes. She was teaching and she was giving sermons about the importance of the Quran and the education of the Quran. Lady Zainab is called al-Masa'ib. So you see her, she moves from one tragedy to another. She has witnessed her grandfather's death. In there, she sees her mother's turmoil with the death of her prophet. But we also see when things were getting bad, the death between the prophet and her mother is between 50 to 53 days. So she's a young child losing all of that, and she's losing it fast. And she's seeing all of that anger against whom? Against her father. And she decides to do what? She decides to remain strong at a very young age and take care of that household. She goes with her dad to Kufa. And she sees all of that and witnesses his martyrs. And then she goes back from Kufa to Medina with her brother Hassan. And there she witnessed her brother get, first he's facing the ummah of dealing with Muawiyah. And he has a lot of number of people, but their hearts were not there. They were not fully with Imam al-Hassan. He was afraid, if I go to war, they're not going to be there for me. I see it and I hear it. So he enters into treaty with Muawiyah. And what was the treaty about? The Khilafah after this period of time will not be inherited. It has to go to the most knowledgeable and with the best character. And of course that will not fall on Yazid nor on Muawiyah, but Imam al-Hassan, at least he had entered the treaty. Did they know they're going to break it? I'm pretty sure they will. But what is Imam al-Hassan showing to the people? Listen, I tried with this man. My father have tried before. My father have tried, instead of taking his sword and take his right place where he's supposed to, he hid his sword and allowed the ummah to contain as one. And we are patient with you, and we had educated you, and we have taken. And when my father became Khalifa, he ensured that social justice and the word of God is spread. And even during the wars, we have fulfilled the duty of the war and the rules of the war. And I'll come back to why the rules of the war were very crucial when we come to get to Karbala and Lady Zainab. Then Imam al-Hassan gets poisoned. They tell you he was so afraid about seeing Lady Zainab, seeing him how he is throwing up his liver, that he would hide it under, like he would order it to be hidden when Lady Zainab used to come. Her brother Yustashhad al-Imam al-Hassan, she sees what they do to his procession, and she goes back with her brother, and she stays with Imam al-Hussein. All through her period of time, Lady Zainab have never left Imam al-Hussein for a long period of time. They tell you that when she was born and she would cry, nothing would console her until Imam al-Hussein will hold her. So there was a clear connection between them two. If Imam al-Hussein was sitting, as soon as Lady Zainab walks in, he would stand up and give her his place. This is all showing that Imam al-Hussein has deep love for Lady Zainab and deep respect for Lady Zainab. Things start to get bad after the death of al-Hassan, and Muawiyah dies, and Yazid takes place. Now they want bay'at who? Who has to agree to it? Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Hussein refused. When he is called by Ubayd, and he goes, Yabna Rasulallah, kalima. It's nothing, we're not asking anything from you, just say the word. It's a word, kalima. And Imam al-Hussein tells him, do you know what a kalima is? Do you know what a word is? A word can enter you heaven. A word can be your honor. Jesus Christ is nothing but a word. Kalimat Allah, Allahu huwa kalima. So if I give my word, who am I after that? I will not. And the ring started getting closer and closer on Imam al-Hussein. Now many people said, why didn't he stay there? Because Imam al-Hussein, when he went to Mecca, during the Hajj, it was the 8th of Hajjah, he was supposed to do Hajj. He has a dream that he is ordered to go to Karbala, to Iraq with the family. Now there's a very crucial thing that also some scholars have said. Imam al-Hussein knew if he doesn't give the bay'ah to Yazid, he's a dead man. He's going to die. And our imams are known as what? As fighters. They're not weak. They will enter into a field. Where are the two places that they will kill al-Hussein in if he stays in the Hijaz area? Either the Medina, which is the holy site of his grandfather, or in Mecca. So he knew if his blood is shed in those two areas, the ummah will never come together. It will be divided and the word of God will be gone. So off to Kufa he goes. He brings letters, he takes them with him. He had sent his cousin ahead of him. He didn't know that his cousin has already been betrayed and martyred. And he takes on. In his journey, and I'm going through this because I really don't want to take away from her stance in Karbala, so we're trying to get through. If you look at the map, he starts at leaving Mecca to Karbala, where he's going to end up. It is said that he makes 14 stops between leaving Mecca into there. In each stop, there is a position that he has to take, and in each stop, Lady Zainab is seeing that her brother has prepared for his istishhad. In one of the first stop, he sees one of the poets, and he goes, "What about Kufa?" So he tells him, their hearts are with you, but their swords are with Bani Umayyah. He goes, let it be what God orders. And every stop until he reaches one stop, and they tell him, Muslim bin Aqil, laqad ustashhad, and they are betraying you. He goes, if this is you to go into, to stay with you. And he stays with him, and he tries to enter Kufa, and Hur prevents him. An argument occurred between Al-Hur and Al-Imam Al-Hussein. And at one point he told him, I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to just be with you and not allow you to go. So go wherever you want, change your path, as long as you don't enter there. They change their path and end up in Karbala. In Karbala, he asks, what is this land? And they told him, it's Karbala. He says, أعوذ من الكرب والبلاء. People think that there was a bala on Al-Hussein on that day. Imam Al-Hussein got the shahada. He fought for God. So al-bala was on who? Who's the people that are going to face the able to say or to do will prevent them from entering into the battle. And the reason why I'm going fast, because we really need to get to what Lady Zainab. So the first question comes, why did Al-Hussein, knowing that he's going to die, take the women and the children? And you'll find people who hate our reviving of Ashura and talking about it, they stand on that. They say, if he knew, he would have not done it. He should have stayed. How could he cause all of that killing? Because he knew that Dina Muhammad, they tried the political approach, they tried treaties, they tried the mawa'id, they tried the sermons, nothing is happening. What's happening more and more? They're seeing day by day, al-jahiliyyah is coming back. So he knew Dina Muhammad needed two things, blood and word. The blood he's ready to give, he's going to enter the battle. But who's going to carry the word? What's going to happen? So I want you to imagine, if Al-Hussein didn't take the women and the children, and people will come, the propaganda of that time was what? Al-Hussein came to fight for the chair, to become, right? In the other field, in the enemy camp, how many women were there? 0. How many children were there? 0. Because they were entering to what? A war. They were going to war. Imam al-Hussein, all through this, was hoping at one point he is able to change people's mind. And he wanted the whole world, all through his trip, I'm not here to fight. I'm going to go to Kufa and educate people until Dina Muhammad ya'tadil. And that what was it. The other thing that we have, many scholars agree upon, they will say, if Al-Hussein and his companion died, who's left to tell the story? The other side. Do we trust the other side to tell the truth? Do we trust the other side to actually be objective in doing this? No. So who is better to carry the mission and carry on? Who's left? Zainab alayha salam. And he knew his sister because she is called what? One of her attributes, al-aqila. Al-aqila meaning she is very insightful and she is very calm and very intelligent. So he knew that she will carry on this mission powerfully and courageously. On the day of Ashura, we stopped on the night before, as she is going to Zainul Abidin and taking care of his sickness. He fell sick, he couldn't move, and that's also barakah from Rabbil Alameen to keep the lineage living and going on. She hears Imam al-Hussein in the next tent saying words, na'i, that's it, I'm dying tomorrow, things, it's happening. He's getting into that mood because he sees what's happening. She leaves the tent. Zainul Abidin alayhi salam says, I saw her face got heavy with sadness. Then she shakes it off and leaves my tent. And I hear her in the next tent and she addressing Imam al-Hussein. Mabik, what's going on with you? She told him, when my grandfather died, I knew I had mother and father and brothers. And when my father died, I had my brothers. And when Imam al-Hassan died, I had you. You are our strength. You are our laughter. You are everything. What's happening with you? So what do you see she's doing there? She's not allowing her brother to fall into what? Self-pity. She's bringing him back. And who's better to bring him back than the sister? That he knows tomorrow she's going to be left with no one. Many people don't know that she lost 2 sons in the battle. So imagine, Lady Zainab didn't just lose her brothers. She didn't just lose her cousins. She didn't just lose her nephews. She lost 2 of her sons. I am a mom. My son falls, hurts himself. I cry for an hour. On the day of Ashura, when her sons went to battlefield, so all through the day of Ashura, Lady Zainab will come out to Imam al-Hussein and ask him what's happening in the battle and how things are going. When Ali al-Akbar went down, she asked him, what's going on? Tell me, give me information. Because she wanted to share with him what's happening. Every time one of them got martyred and brought back, who greeted Imam al-Hussein? Who got out and helped Imam al-Hussein? Lady Zainab. Her children go into battle. She doesn't go out of her tent. She doesn't ask about the battle. He brings them back. She doesn't even mention that they have been martyred. Nor she asks. To her, her brother was more important than anything else that was happening that day. Not even her children getting martyred was important. She didn't want her brother to see her tear. She was afraid to shed a tear on her own sons, that it will hurt and break Imam al-Hussein on that day, because at that point Imam al-Hussein had had enough share of what he has to deal with. And she didn't want him to go into the battlefield hurt from her pain. So she doesn't show it. That shows you what about a Lady Zainab? She is courageous. She knows how to stand in the times. Then you see her in another thing when al-Hussein stands and he goes, is there no one to bring me my horse? Is there no one to come to me? Is there no one to... I am Hussein. I am Ibn Ali. I am Ibn Rasulullah. No one? People don't understand that, because you have to understand the historical factor of what it means to have your horse brought to you. If a horse is brought to you, you are a leader of your tribe, you are of status, you are of a brave knight. That's why the horse is brought to you. Al-Hussein didn't have anyone. What did Lady Zainab do? She brings it. But as she's bringing it, what does she say to herself? What kind of sister am I? What kind of heart I have? Who brings the horse of death to her brother? But to her, it was better than him not having somebody bring that battle. And we see her throughout the battle when she calls on Umar bin Sa'd, what's wrong with you? How could you let this happen? This is your cousin. And we know that there was a still respect of one part of the war rules. So I'm going to go back because we are about to enter her role and her revolution. During the Islamic battles, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was put forth with the rules of battle. The rules of battles were as follow. Don't burn tents. Don't burn houses. Don't burn places of worship. Don't destroy them. Don't kill children, women, elderly, and non-combatant people. Do not mutilate bodies, and be good to the prisoners. Do not make them suffer or cause them treat them with respect. Out of all of those rules, if you think of Karbala, how many of those rules were respected? One. Not to kill the women. And Imam al-Hussein knew they will not kill the women. Because the killing of the women was more of also a jahiliyyah kind of things before Islam. They didn't touch the women. They sold them, but they didn't kill them. So that was, you no longer can sell or do anything with the woman at that point. The nightfall, the battle finishes, and they come into the tents, into the camp of Imam al-Hussein after al-Hussein has been martyred. What do? They burn and they do everything. One scholar says the nida switched within an hour from people calling Ya Sayyid al-Hussein into whom? Ya Zainab, Mawlati, Ammati. People were crying. As human being, when you are attacked, everything is burning, you haven't had food, what happens to you? You panic, right? Lady Zainab doesn't panic, start giving orders. Allah tells the older woman, gather the children and create a bundle around yourself. Her main focus is whom? Zainul Abidin in the tent. She runs to the tent and grabs him out and protects him. Some narration says that her and Sukaina's job was to protect him because they knew if they know about him, they're going to kill him. So she made sure during that chaos that everything was held together to protect whom? The last lineage of whom? Of al-Hussein. And she protected him. He couldn't move. They finish the raid. They stand up. The leaders of the enemy army comes in and they go, who are you? And she refuses to answer. Somebody tell them, this is Zainab bint Ali. And he was like, who is he? And she tells him, that's Zainul Abidin, Ibn Ali. They want, and he goes, how come? Did he get afraid to battle? And she told him, have you known of our lineage to battle? To be afraid of battle? He was sick. He couldn't go out and battle you. They held them for the night. At the night when they are brought, they purposely, Shimr allows them, they were taking them back to the Kufa. And this is where the role of Zainab starts, that night. They start walking them, they purposely make them walk beside what? The bodies. What do they want to do? They want to break psychologically, right? They want to go like, we got you, we killed you. What does Lady Zainab do? Does she cry and she goes, oh my God? Oh. And by the way, if you hear that kind of narration, please stop it in itself, because that takes away of who Lady Zainab is. She cries, she holds his body, and what does she say? Allahumma in hadha yurdik, so take. Allahumma taqabbal minna hadha al-qurban. Accept this from us. Alhamdulillah. Imagine us as a human being. You've just seen your whole family, including your sons, getting killed in front of you. You are under the mercy of people who don't know God, and you're taken as a prisoner of war. They have already taken your facial coverage to reduce you from who you are, and you're carried, and all you have to say, Allahumma taqabbala minna hadha al-qurban. So what she is doing, there are soldiers watching, and they're watching whom? this lady. Some of them didn't know who they were fighting. Because if they were on the outskirts of Karbala, they didn't know what happened, and they didn't hear Imam al-Hussein give his khutbahs. So when they approached more, and they were hearing, and they were like, wait a minute, what did we just do? Like, who are these people? We move forward. So you have to understand, between Karbala and Kufa, there's almost a 3-day to 4-day walk. They did it in 2 days. And when many people say, Hajjah, why you keep saying that they didn't put those stuff on the camels? Why does it care? What does it matter? Has any of you went to Iraq during summer? It is hot. And have you ever touched a camel's hair? It's very prickly. So with you not having this, and you put the people on it, in the sweat and in the sun, and it's moving fast, what does it do to the legs? Scratches it and causes it to bleed. They did that. They entered to Kufa. People in the Kufa has gathered. Some of them are crying. Some of them are happy. Lady Zainab enters. She looks before they enter to the castle, and she motions for people to quiet. And she was, oh, Ahl Kufa, you're crying? What are you crying about? You called and betrayed us. You have no honor. You do not stand in front of them. And then she tells them who they are. There's a reason why Zainab alayha salam, in every spot from Kufa till Damascus, inside Yazid, reminds people of who they are. And she is bringing back history, and she is bringing back certain factors, because Muawiyah during that time, what did he do? A propaganda windmill. He became the most pious man, and they became the what? The wrong people. To an extent, when Imam Ali istishhad, people in Sham, they asked, how did he die? And they were like, he died while he was praying. He was hit by a poisonous sword. وَكَانَ عَلِيُّ يُصَلِّي, what Imam Ali used to pray. Imagine, if they believed that Imam Ali, the leader of the Islamic battles, the opening of Khaybar, the one who have never lost the war, who made Muslimin as powerful as they were in a short period, didn't know Salat. So that shows you what it is. And she's showing it. And she is showing that you're afraid of these people. I'm going to show you that if you are ala haq, you don't be afraid. So when she walks in to Ibn Murjana, he tells her, how do you find what God did with you? I only saw beauty. I don't know what you're talking about. And then she reminds him of who he is. You will see a little bit of difference of her way of talking between Kufa and Damascus. Because she was addressing people in Kufa that still know who she is, right? Because they have lived in Kufa. They know who they are. She just had to remind them, remember who I am? And you remember who is this guy? So she didn't have to do a lot of reminding of lineage. And she makes it clear to Ibn Murjana, you're nothing. You know why he was called Ibn Murjana? Because nobody knows who his father is. There's a reason why she calls him Ibn Murjana. To remind him that this is the guy that you have followed instead of me, Binta Rasulullah, instead of Al-Hussein, instead of Ibn Ali. This is who you followed. The man that had no lineage, that you don't know who he is, and he is not a follower of the Quran. And when he tried to kill her, and this is when we know that the only rule that remained, killing the woman. They bring him forward his advisors, like, wait a minute, don't do that, because everything is going to turn what? Against you. They stay there for a couple of days. Every day, when she was ordered, they were ordered to sit on the side, waiting for the orders of Yazid. She orders what? What does she tell? She goes, no Kufi. Al-Kufiyat la tadkhalna ilay. No woman of Kufa, no people of Kufa enter and say to me, bring me the rest, bring me the freed slaves and the servants. They can enter. And she started telling them about what happened. Why do you think people, like as a political scientist, I know why she made the move. Uprising happens with whom? With the oppressed, right? She told them, those people don't love you. But my prophet, my Jad, my dad, my brother fought for you. And here's what he did. She tells them about Bilal. She tells them about every fight, about every battle, about what the Quran stands, how is social justice has to be admitted. She tells them about the time of her father, Imam Ali, when he ran Kufa. And she goes, go back to people who lived here and tell them during my dad's reign, during my dad ruling, did a faqira yanama ja'a, yatim, wallahi tuyur ala al-jibal lam takun takuna ja'a. It was said that when Imam Ali alayhi salam was the Khalifa, even the birds in the sky were not hungry because he ruled with what? Justice. He could care less what people thought about him, and he even told them, if you want me to be your Khalifa, I rule by the rule of Allah. I could care less if you like me or not. So don't come and be upset with me because I'm going to rule correctly. And we see that. So she starts what? She just planted the seed of what? Of the uprising where? In Kufa. She knew she was leaving. Her job was to what? Everywhere she goes, she steps into a new role of Kufa. It was ordered that they have to go to Damascus. The ruler of Kufa was so happy, and the ruler of Iraq, because at that point, in that short visit, what did Zainab alayhi salam cause? Whirlwind of, what did you do? What's wrong with you? Why you're doing this? The people were getting upset and all of that. People started moving out of Kufa when this happened, started going ahead and telling people, لَقَدْ قُتِلَ الْحُسَيْنِ. So they moved them out of Kufa into Damascus. The people who were told to carry them to Damascus didn't want to do it, because they knew that they were going to face some people that loved Ahlul Bayt. Right here. So they were going to Kufa. If you see, they were supposed to go into a straight line. What happened with that procession to go back into Damascus, they couldn't go that route because they faced problems. In Mosul, an uprising happened. They come and they try to free them. An attempt to free the Sabaya came on 4 points, and they have failed in 4 points because of the betrayal that occurred in some of those people that were uprising, that they would tell them ahead of time, and they will take a different route. They reach, and however, Lady Zainab, in every single spot, they said that they have stopped between 20 to 38 villages along the way. And every stop, what did Lady Zainab do? أنا زينب بنت علي. She's telling them, أنا بنت رسول الله, أنا بنت فاطمة الزهراء. قتل الحسين على يد هذا. قتل الحسين, عملوا فينا هيك وسووا هيك. وأهل الكوفة betrayed us. Planting the seed as she gets in. She goes in Baalbak, they lose. Khawla alayha salam dies. They bury her and they enter Dimashq. They enter the day before Yazid, to cause a little bit of, power struggle. He tells them to stay outside in Daira. They don't allow the tents to go. He keeps them outside because he wants to prepare more people and to cause break for Lady Zainab in there and the Sabaya. As he was doing this, Lady Zainab was preparing herself for the next day. They enter, and by the way, it will fall probably like today, that she entered on Yazid. Today, like today. Because they've been walking, it's been 22 days from 22 to 23 days from the day of Al-Muharram, Al-Ashr of Muharram, so around this time. They put her into Yazid. All through this time, they hid the heads of all of the people of Al-Hussein, Al-Abbas, and everybody during the first mission until they entered Baalbek. They put them back on spears. But what did they do with the boxes that had the heads? They purposely put them in front of Lady Zainab, and he would point to her, Ibn Jawshan. هذا أخاك. Do you miss him? Do you want to see him? Do you want me to show him to you? Over and over. And she wouldn't answer him, nor react to him. And she would say, you did what you did. If inta, you feel so happy about the man you are playing with his head that used to be kissed by Rasulullah, so that tells me who you are and what religion you stand. What is she telling the soldiers that are behind him? This man is not ala Dina Muhammad. You fought for Dina Muhammad. This man is not ala Dina Muhammad. Enters into Damascus. The revolution, the point of revolution. Enters in there. She is brought in, and what does Yazid do? Brings the head on a golden plate and starts playing and hitting it. And he goes, Laita ajjish ya akhi. He's going back to whom? And this is where I tell people, pay attention to the words that occurred. When I have some brothers and sisters of faith, I have had arguments with people, not arguments, discussion, arguments, with people of, sometimes in our own Shias, our brothers and sisters in Shia and our Sunni and all of that, they go, Yazid, it's exaggerated. And I'm like, is there any doubt of the historical sermon between Zainab and Yazid? Do you have it in your books? Have you studied it? And she was like, yeah, I studied, but Yazid was the only bad egg. And she said, we are taught to nil an Yazid wala nuzid. You stop at Yazid, you don't do anything else. Like, I beg to differ, but let's go with you. So you said that the people around him, like Ubayd did it and Shimr did it, he had nothing to do with it, and it wasn't a vengeful thing for him to do? And she goes, yes. And I'm like, okay. So why did he go to Ashyakhu? Why he's talking about Badr? So to understand Karbala, you have to go back to battles. One of the battle, we had many battles. When Hussein was asking them, why you're fighting me, the answer always came back, Kurhan bimin bi abik, right? Constantly, Kurhan bi abik. So what is it, the connection between Yazid, when we say, if we want to forget everything, this is not about the Khilafah. People always try to connect Karbala to the first three Khilafas of Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman. If you enter into these conversations, you tell them it has nothing to do, the martyrdom, the tragedy of Karbala, has nothing to do with Khilafat Amir al-Mu'mineen. It has nothing to do with it. It has to do with two battles. It's called the Badr and Uhud. Remember those two battles. In Badr, first battle comes in, Muslimin ضده ala Quraysh. In that battle, many dies, but I want you to remember three names. Those three names are, it's Utayba, so it's Hind's father, brother, and uncle. Two are killed by Hamza, and one is killed by Amir al-Mu'mineen. And then in Uhud, how did Hind become Akilat al-Akbad? Finds a slave and tells him, if you kill Hamza, and you bring him to me, I'll free you. He does that, cuts his chest open, gets the liver, and eats it. Those two. So who is the grandmother of Yazid? That woman who sought revenge on whom? On Hamza, who killed her father. And she wanted Amir al-Mu'mineen killed for killing her brother and sister. Those two wars. Fast forward 53 years, we are where? In Karbala and in the Sham. So he goes, لَيْتَهُمْ يَرُونِ أَشْيَاخِي. He's proud, like, I wish they would see what I have done. They will be so proud of me. And Lady Zainab, she said, yeah, you are bringing the Jahiliyyah. What did she just tell him? This is what it's all about. But she wanted everybody in that room to know what it's all about. She goes, Yazid, what do you think you've done? Do you think that you have caused harm to us? Oh, wallah, we're good. Do you think if you bring this, the sky and the earth to clap on us that we will, stop what we're doing? We will not do it. And he starts arguing with her. At one point, he was like, "Abuki wa akhuki yalli tulu an ad-din," which is Imam Ali and her brother Al-Hasan al-Hussein. And she told him, with my religion of Jaddi and Abu, my father and my brother, your grandfather have entered Islam. She goes, "Ajaban kull al-ajab." Do you think she was addressing him? She was not addressing him. There was a sea of people from all over. And she was like, "Ajaban, you are standing with akilat al-akbad of a man who was raised with a person that wants in their blood the liver of a shuhada. Akbad al-shuhada. Who does she mean? Hamza. And what does she mean by it? This is the lineage of this man. And she tells him, you guys are following this instead of my brother, of al-Hussein. And then you see that Fatima al-Zahra, Zainab alayha salam, stands up. Usually when people have gone, right now, if I put you on a 16-hour flight and I keep you 24-hour traveling, and I put you in front of a podium and I say, speak, how eloquent and how strong would you be? You'll be. This woman has just traveled, the first travel before, with her brother from Mecca to Karbala. That's 1,100 miles on camels that go between 35 to 40 miles a day. Then she went from Karbala to Kufa, 3 days. And then from Kufa to Damascus, 750 miles. During those 750 miles, getting beaten, not given food, always trying to protect Zainul Abidin because they're trying to kill him at every chance they can, protecting the daughters, the orphans. On the 11th night of Muharram, she's standing, she's praying. Zainul Abidin calls on her, Ammati, Ammati, Ammati. She doesn't answer. The 4th time she goes, Ibna akhi, kuntu asalli. So I was praying the night prayer. So somebody who has just gone through all of this, do you think they have the energy to play Salat al-Layl? Zainul Abidin doesn't ask her, why did you pray it? Well, you have what you have. He goes, Ma adataki ya ammati an tajlusi. And no, to pray, sitting down. She was like, from weakness. No eating, no food, no water, because she's been giving the bread that she's getting to whom? To the children. And she's making sure everybody's eating and taken care of. Travels 1,100 miles, deal with the tragedy of Karbala, goes to Kufa, deals with those, then travel to Damascus with all of that. At one point, there's a narration that they say that the way they have tied them up, they would tie Zainul Abidin with a rope and put it in the neck of Sukaina. He's tall, she's small. to purposely do what? To make him walk like this. Because if he stands up straight, what would happen to Sukaina? She will get hung by the rope. And this is what they have done. They would whip them. They would treat them badly. They will not give them water. At one point, they request water for Ruqayya, who was having fevers, and Khawla. And they were like, sure. And they mix the wine of that time with the water and approach it, knowing that they couldn't use it. This is the people that we have some people defend. Against who? Our Imam. So this is what I want you to think. What kind of people follow a religion of God, supposedly on Deen al-Huda, and treats people like this? She enters to Yazid and she talks to him this way. Lady Zainab, when he's doing this to Hussein, if it was your brother, wouldn't you be angry? Wouldn't you cry? At least cry, right? Lady Zainab doesn't do any. She stands tall. And she gives the sermon that makes everyone in there angry and crying and feeling small. She just showed the men, this man that you're following couldn't handle a woman giving him a sermon. So what do we learned? That if you are educated in God's words and you know the path, you can bring any tyranny or any oppression down. But you have to make what? A stand. A stand of what? A stand of strength, of courage, not to be taken back. When he tells her that and the other option comes when one of the guys asks to take Fatima bint al-Husayn as a jariya. So she told him, you cannot have that. And Yazid goes, if I want to, it will happen. And she goes, nope. Until you get out of our millatana, because was the rules of Islam? You cannot what? Sell children or, give women as gifts to other people. So she told him, you can only do that when you denounce and you get out of our deen. And I think you're already out. So why don't you announce it to the people? What are you so scared? I thought you were so powerful and so great. What are you scared? Stand up and say it. Now people say, oh, she's great. For women of today, yeah, that's very easy for you to stand. You have rights. You stand up. You can do all of that. This was 1,400 years ago where? In Damascus. 1,400 years ago in Arabian Peninsula, that Jahiliyyah, where they used to kill their daughters and bury them alive and treat them as object, is still existent in the mentality, even though there was Risalat Rasulullah for 50 years. Women do not speak eloquently. Women do not stand against who? Supposedly the Amir al-Mu'mineen. In those two positions that we see of Lady Zainab in Kufa and in Damascus caused the seed of the revolution and Tharat al-Hussein. Because what did she just prove to people? I'm a woman and I just spoke to them. I just showed you who that man. And the way she was rising and doing things, after she finished from there, he sends her to a home. She wears the black and every day she would do majlis. Every day. And who does she do it to? The women. Why she was doing it to the woman? The woman will go to their houses. What's wrong with you? What kind of man are you? You allowed this to happen to Bint Rasulullah? فَوَاللَّهِ لَا أَجْلُسُ مَعَكَ. And they would leave until they do. And the uprising started. After a few months, he couldn't take it. Yazid was very scared. Zainab had caused so much uprising and so much turmoil. He couldn't have it any easy, and he was scared for his life because it was coming. So he told them, you can go back. As she goes back, she comes back to Karbala and al-Madinah. She stops at Karbala. The night of there that she does it and the way she was talking to him, that Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, he said, I was afraid for my amma at one point from the heartache that she was having, the way she was crying. And the things that are noted by all narrators and scholars, she didn't cry on her children's grave. She was crying on who? Hussein's grave. Refusing to believe that somebody like Hussein was killed the way it was. And she was talking to him. And then they will tell you that at night she will turn her head to Medina and say, grandfather, look what they've done to your Hussein. And then she would turn to her father and she goes, where are you? Come, look what they've done to your Hussein. And then she goes back into the Medina. She forgets her pain, and Tuwasi mean, who's the first one Bitwasi? al-Banin. And from there she keeps doing. Now we come to her death. Here comes Shia, Takhabut al-Shia, about her death. There's a lot of narration where she's buried. Is she buried in Sham? Is she buried in Egypt? Is she in al-Baqiyah? I am not a scholar, and I've been researching this for a year and a half and reading, I think I'm on my 50th book. And both sides have validation of Egypt and Syria. Until I heard a speech by Sheikh al-Wa'ili, Allah yarhamu. He said, does it matter where our Zainab is? Not really. Because Zainab, Allah wanted to give her more power. So we have one shrine for Hussein, one shrine for Imam Ali, right? Zainab has a shrine. If you go to Iraq, inshallah, you all go to ziyarah. There's something called Tall al-Zainabi. That's when she stood and talked to her brother Hussein. If you ever go to it, my first time when I went there, looking down, when you turn back and you see, your heart goes like this. Like, qalbaki ya Zainab. You couldn't fail not to see what was happening because of the position of the tell. And they have done a maqam there. You go, you do ziyarah for Zainab over there. There's one in Damascus. There's one in Egypt. Everywhere where Zainab is, Zainab have lived on because of her courage. Now, if we want to say that Karbala was all al-Hussein, then on the 10th of day of Muharram, it's done, right? If it's about Hussein, we finished. He died. Go home. What did Zainab do? In history, you have many revolutions. If you go back in your mind, what is the youngest revolution that there is? The United States, right? 220 years, give or take. Can you name 5 people that were involved in it? If you didn't study history and you didn't take a test, after the test you'll forget the names, right? Every revolution in history, once it does its job, what happens to it? Done. Gone. Doesn't grow in number, right? It had fulfilled its duty. We saw that with the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, the French, and the American, and many, many more of the Arabian Peninsula. And I tell that to every person, our Imam died in where? In Karbala, right? She went to Kufa, Damascus, and they lived in Medina and Mecca. Is that fair? How many people do Majlis Ashura every year? Now, there's almost 10 to 15 million people that go to Hussein every Arba'in, right? The survivor number of people in Karbala after the tragedy was between 35 to 42. That's women and children. There was only Zainul Abidin as a man, and Imam al-Muhammad al-Baqir, he was 4 years. Those are the 2 only males. The rest were children and women. A revolution that started by a woman, now every spot, is there any spot in this world that we don't do Majlis Ashura in? We have it all over. It is the only revolution in the history of this world that grew in numbers, grew in the call. So if you ever have a conversation with people, when they tell you, who is Lady Zainab? Tell them it's every woman. Lady Zainab is every woman. Every woman who wears her hijab today and have to face all of these talks of oppression, and they look down on you and all of that, and she goes through it with pride, that's Zainab. Every mother who raised her children wouldn't have to work and do everything, that's Zainab. Every child that calls Labbaika Ya Hussein, that's Zainab. You know, we see today in the movies, they look for Wonder Girl or Superman, and they want heroes. They look for fictional heroes, right? I always tell them, Alhamdulillah, I don't need fictional characters. I have my Prophet and my Imam, but most of all, I have my Zainab. A woman who stood against everything. Literally, I tell them, she literally stood up from the ashes and the dust and led a revolution that 1400 years till today hasn't died. It didn't die. Hussein's revolution is every day. It's the only revolution that we have seen day in and day out, century over century, decade over decade. It changed to fit what? Our time. So when you learn about Karbala, what do you learn about? You learn about everything, about choices we make. When we see Hur, when he makes a choice, they would tell him, "Are you scared?" He goes, "No, I'm choosing between Jannah and Nar. I'm choosing between heaven and hell." And he chooses heaven. You see in Karbala the treatment and the kind of connection between brothers. Al-Abbas is half-brother of Al-Hussein. Yet, he is his most companion. He loves him more than anything. When Al-Abbas was born, Zainab alayhi salam was 20 years old. They say she was about 20. She refused to give the kid back to al-Banin except to feed him. She would hold him. She would not let him go. So she went to her father and she goes, "Ya Abati, what is it about me? Why this boy is so close to me?" And he goes, "Ahibbihi ya Zainab." Love him. Love him more. Because there's going to come a time where he's going to, leave you. And she goes, "Do I leave him or he leaves me?" He was like, "Death departs you from him. And in a day, it's not like no day. So prepare yourself and prepare him." You see that she prepares Al-Abbas to be her brothers beside him. Because the night before, when he was walking around the camp, Al-Abbas, he was looking, and you can see, and they say that the anger of Al-Abbas against those people were getting high. And she comes to him to calm him. Al-Hussein tells her, "Go to Abbas, calm him a little bit. We have a day coming." And the conversation, when he comes and she told her, "Who's there?" And she told him, "Ana Zainab." The words of Abbas, how he greets her? "Ukhta Zainab, Noora Aini." Look at the love that a brother gives to his sister. Noora Aini. We see all through her upbringing, the father and the brothers are like shields to Zainab because she becomes what? Their flag for life. But if we don't raise our daughters in that capacity of strength and love, are we going to be building generations good enough? We're not going to do it. So your job as young women, to be strong in your faith and to be Zainab's. When we say we're Zainabiyat, what does that mean? That means if something is wrong, we speak against it. Doesn't matter. Now we find in a lot of high schools the peer pressure, right? The hijab is going off like there's no tomorrow. Whenever you see a girl take off her hijab, it's an identity crisis. It's an identity crisis. She's facing an identity crisis. I ask you not to judge her, but rather be patient with her, talk to her, bring her back. Because nobody does this move unless there's a despair part of it. But if we follow Zainab's footsteps, will despair ever take us? No. Our Lady Zainab doesn't, unfortunately, we don't give her her full right. She passes on. We finished the 10th day of Ashura, and yallah, let's go. 10th day of Ashura, you lost your Imam, but your Lady Zainab was taken prisoner. She deserves more time from you, more effort from you. If you read about her and how much she had fought, can you imagine if we didn't have Zainab after Karbala? Would you know Hussein? Because if you forget Hussein, you will forget who Fatima al-Zahra is, who Imam Ali is. And if you forget those two, then you forget that they were related to Prophet Muhammad. And if you forget about Prophet Muhammad, you forget about his message. And if you forget about his message, you forget who? Allah Azza wa Jal. So by holding on to Al-Hussein, we hold on to what? To Rabbna. And it's no coincidence that I think that it's in Muharram, the new year of the Islamic year, that every year we renew this, because we need a shock to our soul. We need a renewal every once a year. Ramadan does its good, but I think it really shocks your soul and reminds you of the ever after when you go into Muharram. And we see that Lady Zainab. I am not a scholar. I'm just a lover of Lady Zainab. This research, I wanted to write about the woman of Karbala, and I made the fatal mistake that I started with Zainab researching her. It's 2 years of research, and it's still nonstop. Because every time you open something, you see that Lady Zainab is stronger and better than anything else. So if anybody asks you for a hero, tell them, forget Superwoman. Let me tell you about a real tragedy. I have a friend of mine who's not a Muslim. She goes, how come you handle things when we were younger? You handle things easy. How come? Like, you're facing a lot of things. So I wrote one time about Lady Zainab. I told her, read about her. Her tears started coming down. She was like, is this, like, what kind of fiction, like, story? What is this? I told her, it's not fiction. It's part of history. That's what happened, and that's what she did. So if people can feel the love and the importance of Al-Hussein and Zainab, I think it's our duty to do it as well. Thank you so much. Barakallah feekum. Inshallah, you always will say Labbaika Ya Hussein, and you'll always stand for Zainab's mission to keep that raya gone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you, Hajjah Najar, for the amazing lecture. It was really informational and insightful to everything that happened from when she was born up until everything after the battle. That wraps it up for the night. Our lecture next week is Chai with a Scholar. It is what the title says. We will be having Chai with a Scholar in the dining hall, inshallah, and it will be at 8 p.m. Yes, so with Sayyid Muhammad Baqir. And that's it. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.